Hello, Janice.
Hi, Anthony.
Today we're going to discuss how to close on the sale of a business in probate. Okay, so hooray, you're finally in contract
Yeah.
and you're ready to close on selling the business or of the estate. So you already did all the hard work of preparing, cleaning, listing, and just getting the business ready for sale. We talked about that in previous episodes. So now what do you have to do to make sure you cross the finish line properly and close on this sale? Yeah. All right. So first, maintain the status quo until the sale is complete. What does that mean? Make sure all your insurance payments are you maintain those all because, I mean,
Heaven.
what are the chances? But if there's a trip
Right.
and fall the day between when you let your insurance lapse and when the closing occurs, that's your problem.
Yep.
That's on you. Maintain your security plan, whether that's an alarm system, a service that has a drive-by, whatever the case may be. You got to keep that in place.
Exactly.
We have had a robbery in one of our situations, or an attempted, not a robbery. Robbery is when
Burglary.
somebody's involved.
Yeah.
Thank you, former police
problem.
dispatcher.
Sorry.
But yeah, we did have an attempted burglary on
We
one of
did.
our situations. Thankfully, I think they were caught. But yeah, keep your security in
They
place.
tried. Yeah.
And I think thieves have like a sixth sense of knowing that, oh, this is a business where somebody passed away and it might not be quite as attended to.
Right. And, there's usually when you have something like this particular business, you have cars in and out, right, all day
Oh,
long.
that's right.
If you even sit for 10 minutes, you're going to realize, wait a minute, it's a Saturday afternoon and I haven't seen one car and it's dark. It's kind of a red flag, right?
Excellent point.
Yeah.
By the way, that totally applies to the residents as well,
Oh,
And we've
absolutely.
talked about that before, making sure you pick up the papers and
Yep.
right. Oh, and then lastly, for how to maintain status quo at the business until you've closed on the sale, just keep up to date with all the business vendors. Make sure everything that needs to be going continues to go. So whether it's electricity or the point
Yep.
of sale or telling vendors to not come by if the business is not operational, meaning you don't want boxes and boxes of inventory stacking up in front of the
Right.
store, which is, again, kind of like a home, like an indication that nobody's home, right?
Right.
So just-
You don't need boxes of like fresh lettuce and bread if
Right.
if your business is not even operating.
Exactly. Very
right.
good. All right.
Some of them have auto deliveries, right? So you want to notify them, just hold off, or
100%.
just have good communication. I think with
Yeah, it's a combination of understanding the business and what is the best analogy? Like when you go on a long vacation, the things you have to do to make sure your house doesn't
Yes.
get robbed. Kind
Yep.
of this kind of situation.
exactly.
Okay, so next thing you need to do to make sure that you close properly on the sale of your business is allow the buyer's final inspections. What does that mean? This can involve things that are more documentary or not quite physical, but rather making sure that the lease is transferable if it's a leased premises. That can involve a lot of document review. That can involve the buyer having an introduction or conversation with the landlord to make sure they get along and they're going to be able to
Yep.
come to new terms. It can involve another inventory. Even if, as we've discovered, you provide a fully audited inventory of your assets, sometimes buyers want to do their own inventory. So they want to see for themselves.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think most owner-operators kind of have that mentality, like, I want to see with my own eyes and
that's
get a
nice.
feel for what the business is like.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And then lastly, not just inventory, but the premises itself and the equipment. Cash registers, coolers, machinery, the condition of the parking lot. These are all things that the buyer will want to sort of walk around and take a look at him or herself. That really, sometimes you can't capture in a report or photographs. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Okay. And then lastly, on how to close properly on the sale of a business during probate is to transfer all paperwork. This mostly happens at the closing, but some of it happens sort of, or needs to get sort of the wheels in motion prior to closing.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, the lease, making sure that the buyer can take over the lease from the landlord. But also, if your business requires any sort of special licenses or permits, there might be a whole bureaucratic
Process.
process to make sure that the buyer gets all
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it's the permit to have a cafe on the sidewalk in front of your restaurant, whether it's
Right.
a liquor license, whether it's any or cabaret license if you want to have dancing, who knows,
Right.
right?
music license. I mean, there is, if you play music at any place that you listen to, you have to have a music license, or if you have karaoke, I mean, there is a lot of things to think of. Yeah. Yep. You can't just do karaoke, at least in PA, but.
So those are really the main things that we found that you need to watch out for when preparing to close and cross that finish line on the sale of a business during probate. Also want to mention real quick that if you think you're done, no, not quite.
No.
Even if you've sold and liquidated all the business assets, and you've had your closing and you got your check in hand, you probably did the sale in the form of an asset sale, meaning where the buyer just bought the stuff, and not a sale of the corporate stock. So what you're left with, what your estate is left with now, is this empty corporate wrapper, right? This empty corporate entity. Yep. And your executor, or we, need to wind that down or dissolve it. And that can involve getting certain tax clearances. That can involve making sure the Department of State, or whatever entity in that particular state, is in charge with forming and dissolving corporations. And of course, winding down, emptying out business bank accounts and making sure those are distributed properly. Maybe even notifying the IRS with a final 1120 or a final corporate tax return. So there's some steps to make sure that the corporate entity is also correctly wound down. But you know what? We'll probably talk about that in a future episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe too, like you also have those, you talked about leaving the power on and the security on, things like that. You're going to have to also make good on the invoices up into the point of sale, take care of all that. So it's definitely a long process, but got to be done.
For sure.
Yeah. Yep. If you want more information on how probate works, I suggest Anthony's book, available on Amazon, How Probate Works.
This is an interesting area because this is the sort of cross section of two areas that most people aren't that familiar with: selling a business and probate or executorship itself. So we're happy to answer any questions and share from our experiences. Let us know. Throw your questions down in the comments or email us, and we'll try our best to help. Janice, thank you as always. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will talk soon next time. Bye now.